For many years, David Hyde Pierce was a familiar face on television, loved by millions of fans. His most famous role was Niles Crane on the hit sitcom Frasier. This performance wasn't just popular, it became iconic. Pierce won 4 Emmy Awards and earned a place in television history. His sharp wit, neurotic charm, and perfect comedic timing made Niles unforgettable. Yet, almost as quickly as he rose to fame, he seemed to step away. Unlike many Hollywood stories, there was no scandal, no big fight with producers, and no dramatic meltdown. Instead, Pierce quietly disappeared from the spotlight, leaving fans puzzled. Was he simply tired of acting? Did he want a more private life? Or was there something happening behind the scenes that the public never knew? These questions followed him for years. The truth, as it turns out, is both simple and fascinating. His journey from a popular sitcom star to a more private life is a story of personal choice, passion, and the search for meaning beyond fame. David Hyde Pierce's story begins in Saratoga Springs, New York. Born into a modest family, he showed creative talent from a young age. As a boy, he played the organ at Bethesda Episcopal Church, a sign of his early artistic interests. Summers at Camp Kibune gave him another stage to shine. He wasn't just performing in plays like HMS Pinafore, he was already directing them. These experiences showed that his love for performance ran deep. After finishing high school in 1977, he attended Yale University. At first, Pierce planned to study music, focusing on piano performance. But as time passed, his interests shifted. He changed his major to English literature and theater studies, reflecting his passion for storytelling and drama. At Yale, he acted in productions, directed plays, and even led the campus Gilbert and Sullivan Society. By the time he graduated, in 1981 with a Bachelor of Arts degree, he was already building a strong foundation for his acting career. His years at Yale gave him confidence, discipline, and a love for the stage that never left him. Like many young actors, Pierce's early years in New York were not glamorous. He worked survival jobs, selling tires at Bloomingdale's, guarding buildings as a security officer while training at Michael Howard Studios. But even during these tough times, his talent helped him land meaningful roles. One early highlight was playing Laertes in Hamlet, opposite Kevin Kline, in an off-Broadway production. In 1982, he made his Broadway debut in Christopher Durant's comedy Beyond Therapy. Slowly, he built a reputation for being both witty and precise. His first major television break came with The Powers That Be, a sitcom created by Norman Lear. In it, Pierce played a depressed congressman. This role might not have been a huge hit, but it gave him exposure and showed audiences his comedic style. Interestingly, the setup of his character falling in love with a maid foreshadowed his future role in Frasier, where Niles fell for Daphne, the live-in physical therapist. These small steps, while not yet star-making, proved crucial in shaping his career. Frasier began as a spin-off of Cheers, focusing on Dr. Frasier Crane, a radio psychiatrist played by Kelsey Grammer. Originally, Frasier was meant to be an only child, but during casting, someone noticed that David Hyde Pierce looked like a younger version of Grammer. This coincidence led to the creation of Niles Crane. When Pierce auditioned, there wasn't even a written script for Niles. Producers simply discussed ideas, like making Niles a Jungian while Frasier was a Freudian. From there, a new character was born. The show premiered in 1993 and became one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. Unlike Cheers, which celebrated working-class humor, Frasier leaned toward wit, sophistication, and sharp dialogue. Niles and Frasier's sibling rivalry, combined with their father Martin's grounded personality, created brilliant comedy. Over time, Niles's quirks, germophobia, his complicated marriage to the unseen Maris, and his quiet love for Daphne made him one of the show's most beloved characters. Pierce earned 11 consecutive Emmy nominations and won for many. Fans believe that while the show was named Frasier, it was Niles who gave it heart. When Frasier ended in 2004, many expected Pierce to continue chasing television fame. Instead, he turned to the stage. His first big theater project was Spamalot in 2005, a Broadway adaptation of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Playing Sir Robin, Pierce proved that he could hold his own alongside comedy legends like Tim Curry. Audiences loved his timing and presence, and critics praised his performance. A year later, he starred in Curtains, a musical comedy where he played a detective with Broadway dreams. Though the show itself received mixed reviews, Pierce's role was celebrated, and he even won a Tony Award. These performances showed that he wasn't limited to television comedy. He had the range and discipline to succeed on stage. Theater became his second act, offering him fresh challenges and creative fulfillment. Unlike the long grind of television, stage work gave him variety and artistic freedom. It was clear that Pierce wasn't chasing fame here, was chasing meaningful work. While Pierce was winning awards and building a stage career, he was also carefully protecting his private life. For years, he avoided discussing relationships, which led to speculation. In 2007, during his Tony Award speech, he quietly thanked his partner, writer, and producer, Brian Hargrove. This public acknowledgement confirmed what many suspected: Pierce was in a long-term same-sex relationship. They later married in 2008, just before same-sex marriage was briefly banned in California. Pierce's decision to speak openly made him an advocate for LGBTQ+ visibility, though he never treated it like a publicity stunt. At the same time, another cause deeply shaped his life: Alzheimer's awareness. Having seen both his grandfather and father suffer from forms of dementia, Pierce became a national spokesperson for the Alzheimer's Association. He testified before Congress, spoke passionately about the disease, and used his platform to push for more research funding. This showed another side of him. Not just an actor, but a compassionate voice fighting for families facing difficult realities. Even as he became more involved in activism, Pierce never completely left acting. In 2010, he starred in The Perfect Host, a dark comedy where his charming character hides dangerous secrets. The film itself received mixed reviews, but critics praised his unsettling performance. He also returned to the stage in productions like Le Bait and It Should Have Been You, which he directed. In 2017, he appeared in the ABC miniseries When We Rise, playing the conservative father of activist Cleve Jones. This was a significant role, showing his ability to portray complex characters beyond comedy. Despite these successes, Pierce remained a reluctant celebrity. He openly admitted that fame never suited him. Paparazzi had tricked his family in the past, and he disliked being constantly watched. Unlike many stars who crave the spotlight, Pierce valued privacy. Thanks to the financial security from Frasier, he could choose only the projects that interested him, rather than chasing every opportunity. This deliberate choice gave him freedom, but also made him less visible to mainstream audiences. Like many artists, Pierce's life changed dramatically in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. Broadway shut down, film productions stopped, and actors found themselves at home, uncertain of the future. For Pierce, this period became a time of reflection. Isolated with his husband, he revisited the grief of losing his parents and thought deeply about what mattered most in life. In this quiet period, he rediscovered the importance of love, connection, and using art to bring people together. He reunited with his Frasier castmates for a virtual fundraiser and later returned to television with a new project. In 2022, he played Paul Child, the husband of Julia Child, in the HBO Max series, Julia. This role was a perfect fit. Paul was a Renaissance man, supportive yet complex, much like Pierce himself. Critics praised his performance, noting how naturally he captured the spirit of a man who stood proudly beside his famous wife. For Pierce, it was proof that even after years away from major television, he still had the skill and depth to captivate audiences. When news of a Frasier revival surfaced in 2023, fans were excited but also noticed something missing. Niles Crane. Why didn't David Hyde Pierce return? The answer was not dramatic. Pierce explained that he loved his years on the show, but he felt the character's story was complete. He had other commitments, including Julia and stage projects like Here We Are. Most importantly, he wanted to challenge himself with new roles rather than repeat the past. Kelsey Grammer confirmed that Pierce's decision was thoughtful, not bitter. The revival introduced new characters and stories, while Niles lived on in spirit through his and Daphne's son, David. While some fans were disappointed, Pierce left the door open for a guest appearance in the future. His choice reflected a simple truth. He didn't need to cling to fame. He wanted to move forward, not backward. When news of a Frasier revival surfaced in 2023, fans were excited but also noticed something missing. Niles Crane. Why didn't David Hyde Pierce return? The answer was not dramatic. Pierce explained that he loved his years on the show, but he felt the character's story was complete. He had other commitments, including Julia and stage projects like Here We Are. Most importantly, he wanted to challenge himself with new roles rather than repeat the past. Kelsey Grammer confirmed that Pierce's decision was thoughtful, not bitter. The revival introduced new characters and stories, while Niles lived on in spirit through his and Daphne's son, David. While some fans were disappointed, Pierce left the door open for a guest appearance in the future. His choice reflected a simple truth. He didn't need to cling to fame. He wanted to move forward, not backward. So, why did David Hyde Pierce vanish from the spotlight? The answer lies in his values. Fame was never his goal. Acting was. After Frasier, he had the freedom to choose projects that inspired him rather than those that guaranteed ratings. He found joy in theater, in advocacy, and in living a private life with his husband. His career shift wasn't about rejection, it was about growth. By stepping away from Hollywood's glare, he built a life filled with purpose, creativity, and authenticity. For fans, this might feel like a loss, but for Pierce, it was the right path. His story reminds us that success is not always about staying in the spotlight. Sometimes, it is about knowing when to walk away, honoring what you've already created, and finding happiness in quieter places. David Hyde Pierce may not be on television every week, but his legacy as Niles Crane, his impact on Broadway, and his voice in Alzheimer's advocacy ensure that he will never truly disappear. To truly understand why David Hyde Pierce is still remembered so fondly, it helps to look closer at the cultural impact of Frasier. When the show premiered in 1993, many critics doubted whether a spin-off from Cheers could succeed. Yet Frasier not only matched the popularity of its parent show, but, in some ways, surpassed it. It ran for 11 seasons, collected 37 Emmy Awards, and became one of the most celebrated sitcoms of its time. Much of that success was due to the rich characters and sharp writing. While Kelsey Grammer carried the show as the central figure, Niles provided a necessary balance. His polished manner, obsessive cleanliness, and subtle rivalry with his brother created endless comedic situations. Fans laughed at his exaggerated quirks but also connected with his vulnerability. The slow-burning romance with Daphne was one of television's most memorable long-term story arcs. Unlike many sitcom romances, which feel forced, this one developed naturally over years, allowing audiences to grow alongside the characters. In many ways, Niles symbolized the heart of Frasier. He was not just comic relief, but the emotional anchor, showing growth, love, and humanity.